Well, welcome back to the Hurdle the Line preview show brought to you by the AAW Network. I am your host, Fletch, and joining me on this week's episode is Carl and Sam. How are we, gents?
Yeah, good.
All good, thanks, mate. All good. All getting geared up for Thursday night football. So even though we should win comfortably, but we're here. We've got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do. Okay, so we haven't got too much planned for this week's episode, but I did think we'd just have like an in-depth, in at length discussion about both the AFC and the NFC, how close the races are. It's getting tight. It's still pretty tight at the top. But before we get into it, don't forget to follow us and the AAW Network on the socials. Join our free to join Discord server, and you can find all the relevant links in the description of this episode. If you are on YouTube, they are below our faces. If you are listening on audio only platforms, then you can find them in the app that you are using. Okay, so first up, a couple of bits of news. Do either of you have anything other than, and I will allow both of you the opportunity to speak on this, Brian Daboll being fired?
Um, we'll start off with the Dable situation, okay? I think the Giants have made a very grave mistake in sacking him this point of the season. I know the Giants are sitting at 2-8. They're circling the drain right now. But the best thing would have probably have done would be to get to the end of the season and then fire Brian Dable. It's not firing Brian Dable that really has bugged the hell out of me. It really hasn't. It's the fact that they didn't fire Joe Sheen as well in the process of it all. How the hell has that guy been able to maintain his job? Or what? Because he drafted, or what? Because he drafted Malik Neighbors. My bloody 4-year-old could have drafted Malik Neighbors at bloody 5. Or he traded up to go and get Jackson Dart. Cool. But you had the opportunity the previous season to go and trade up for Jaden Daniels or Drake May. If anybody had seen the Hard Knocks, Joe Sheen's son, his eldest son, he actually asked him, "What do you think we should do with the first pick?" And he said, "Trade up for Jaden Daniels." His son knows more ball than he does, and he's meant to be the leading candidate to search for the next head coach. What qualification does he have to warrant finding the next head coach? What the hell does he know? Well, Dable was going to get fired anyway. Jackson Dart was literally, pardon the pun, it was the last arrow at the board, right? But still, it's been a massive shit show. Scatterboo's out injured. Not a lot you can do about it. Neighbours is out injured. The best thing you could do is kept Dable on to just coach because this was Dable's guy. Jackson Dart was Dable's guy. He wanted this pick. Joe Sheen tried to advise him against it. But Dable said, "Nope, I want him." He said, "Fine, roll the dice then." So I think Jackson Dart is a very good quarterback. But we're going to see who this new coach is going to be. And it's got to be an experienced one. If they throw in some rookie, or for the love of God, they throw in Lane Kiffin in there for just because of the old Miss freaking duo, then I'm sorry, the Giants are going nowhere. It was the right move, but at the wrong time, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what Sam thinks.
Um, it's an odd. I think it is a little bit odd. I think that the nature in which they've or the timing in which they've done it just seems a bit bizarre because it's either you. They should have if they weren't going to go with. If the argument would have been that they should have got rid of him at the end of last year, and they didn't. So to me, you will you allow him. the chance to at least see this season out, given the fact that, we've seen some promising elements from them. And obviously the fact that Dart was the guy that Dable wanted to bring in. But I'm pretty sure at the start of the season that the play calling for the offense was left to the OC, from what I remember.
Well,
So
Kafka.
so if you're gonna fire anyone, surely it would be him. If you don't think your offense is doing as well as it should. But I think the timing of it is a bit odd. But I was more surprised that he managed to make it to the start of the season, to be honest.
Um, some of the things that have come out about it though have been the with as far as the timing goes, they've just been fined or recently fined for Brian Daboll walking into the blue tent after Jackson Dart while he was getting checked for concussion. And the reports say that Jackson Dart has suffered 4 concussions this year, and Brian Daboll has stepped in and put him back out there when he shouldn't realistically have been playing. And this isn't like a tour situation. Well, okay, kind of is. Where like he's putting himself in harm's way on a consistent basis, say Jackson Dart, but it's malpractice to say the least. And I think clearly there is a I get that your job's on the line, so you need to win. You need to keep your job. But that's one way to make sure you don't go get hired again if you are fired, you don't get hired again in the NFL. Will you're in trouble if you're doing that to one of your players and putting them out there after they've had a concussion and doing that kind of thing. But I get what you mean with the timing, but clearly I think at this point they had no other choice, particularly with fines and what he'd done and all that sort of stuff. Um, I did have a piece of news that was for fudge's sake. Why does my phone need to reset itself? That Jameis Winston has been named the starter at the Giants for this weekend. Jackson Dart has a concussion. Um, and Travis Hunter will miss the rest of the season after undergoing surgery to repair his lateral collateral ligament. We will 6 month return, which obviously means end of the season. He won't
He's
make it, but should be in well within time for next season.
he's had a rough season. He has Travis Hunter. He's had a rough season. Him playing the two-way of playing wide receiver and corner. Um, I honestly I don't think it's panned out that well. I think he's actually played better as a receiver than what he has at corner, as far as I'm concerned this season. But it's a shame. Talented kid, very very talented kid. If he had a fucking decent quarterback to have the ball throw to him, he will actually be an even better receiver. But I digress. Um, and the Giants, well, Jackson Dart's in concussion protocol. Not a lot you can do about that. The fact we are turning the clock back and bringing back Jameis Winston. I'm saying I'm putting my nuts on the table right now, and I'm saying the Giants are beating the Packers with Winston this week. It's gonna be hilarious. It's gonna be hilarious.
As much as I to an extent would love that, like I am not a Jameis Winston fan in the slightest. Both as a I'm already dreading the Jameis Winston propaganda machine that's about to come out. It was insufferable for the last couple. Once he starts and plays a game, the NFL machine churns out video after video after video after video, and I think he's a bell end. Um,
Winston for
You,
MVP.
I can't stand him.
he also has his own bakery as well
Food probably
because
tastes like shit.
he keeps making turnovers all the time. So you know, it- it's gonna be funny. But I'll laugh my ass off if I find out on Sunday that the Giants have beaten the Packers. I'll be like, oh my flipping god.
Remember the time when Russell Wilson went to back Super Bowls and even won one of them? And now we can't get a starting job at the New York Giants over Jameis Winston.
That's when your career is pretty much dead.
So,
He's, he can still throw the great moonball, but
I know,
that's it.
I know you're a married man, and I don't want to put you on blast like this, but like if I'm going to put you on black, I'll join you on this one. Your wife is Sarah. Um, you are getting paid millions and millions of dollars to be bad at your job. How likely are you to take that life? Because I'm taking it in a minute.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Sorry, Mrs.
Oh
Fletch, but I'm
yeah.
taking that in a minute.
Getting paid
Got a
silly
new
money.
She's got a new noise cancelling headphones, so like I can say this, are just not a problem anymore. I can insult the Saints as much as I want. Um, but yeah, I'm taking that in a minute. Imagine being paid millions to be bad at your job. Like I can't. Oh, Brian Kelly.
Being paid millions to sit and do nothing.
Well, I was say Brian Kelly, James Franklin,
Kirk
all
Cousins.
feeling Kirk Cousins, all feeling that right now. Um, but that was the only news that I had was just James Winston named starter and
Stroud's out
obviously
as well this week.
Stroud's out.
Strauss out, so that General Mills will be back starting as well. Which that basically means they're going to slap up Tennessee by about 30 points. Come on, CJ Stroud's been playing awful this year. As soon as General Mills comes in, it all of a sudden they're passing the ball and the receivers are actually getting open. It just seems like, okay. Seems like CJ Stroud's rookie year was a bit of a fluke, maybe. I don't know.
Are
Um,
you trying to tell me that Ohio State has not produced a top quality NFL quarterback? I am shocked, Carl, that you would make
oh
that
what a
assumption.
oh what a shocking turn of events.
Oh, they produced NFL classics like Justin Fields and uh,
CJ Stroud and
hang on,
and that's as far. So this I can't find it. I can't find the list. It might be on the back of a milk carton somewhere. Um, anyway, there was some more injury news to look out for. For the 49ers, callback Brock Purdy, he early on, I think it was yesterday, he went through some warm-ups before he was limited in participation. But Kyle Shanahan said, and I quote this, we're going to be aggressive with him to see if he's good to go for the Cardinals on Sunday. Chargers have
Truth,
listed
truth,
tight. Sorry.
truthfully, I wouldn't bother playing him because they're going to win with Mac Jones anyway. So why risk him?
Well, I guess you can be upset. Just saying. Battle of former Patriots quarterbacks, by the way, that game is. Chargers listed tight end Orlando Gadaston as a fully participant in today's practice. So it looks like Justin Herbert is going to have a big weapon back in his arsenal. Unfortunately, he has no line to protect his ass. And the Giants have placed kicker Graham Gano on injured reserve. So does that mean then are we going to get it? Are we getting are the Giants getting the Irish lad back? Fletch?
Maybe.
No idea. I'm gonna keep an eye. I always say keep for stuff like that. Keep an eye on PF Island at NFL Island on Twitter and Pro Football Island. Like they're shit hot at that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Keep on
Giants
top of their
also
stuff.
they said wide receiver Darius Slayton did not practice due to a hamstring injury, and the Buccaneers have listed wide receiver Chris Godwin and running back Bucky Irving as being limited at today's practice, but that was yesterday, so we're just waiting on some news to come through. The one other bit of news that I came across, and I haven't quite delved into this, the NFL has filed grievance against the NFLPA to stop players' team report cards. This was a column written by Seth Wickersham. It's on the ESPN. Hang on, let me bring this up. Um, The NFL filed a grievance against the NFLPA Players Association, asking the union to stop its annual team report card, saying the exercise violates the collective bargaining agreement by airing public criticism of teams, according to documents obtained by ESPN. The league claims report cards, which poll players on various aspects of working conditions, violate a CBA clause that says NFL owners and the union must, in quotation marks, use reasonable efforts to curtail public comments by club personnel or players which express criticism of any club, its coaches, or its operation and policy, ending quotation marks. According to an August letter from the league's management council to the NFLPA General Counsel Tom DePasso, that was obtained by ESPN.
Also, news just coming in. Garrett Wilson has officially been placed on IR.
That was inevitable.
Fair enough. Right. Just while we wrap up, I did want to actually get these statistics in general. So just put a quick list together. I say list, it's actually pretty comprehensive. Of all the Ohio State quarterbacks that have been successful in the NFL, would you like to hear my list?
No.
Is it two?
I say so. Here's the list. End of list. Right, there we go. Done.
Oh, but now talk about Michigan's. Talk about Michigan's, Fletch.
Only the most successful quarterback in NFL history came out of Michigan. That'd be Sir Thomas Brady.
Sorry,
Um,
didn't JJ McCarthy win a national championship as well? Are you
well,
good?
so
You
we're
gonna
talking
avoid
about
that?
success in the NFL, though. That was the, and he started about 4 games.
Mm.
He beat the Detroit Lions, which, may I say, is quite the achievement, given that they are the greatest franchise in history of the National Football League. But let's not go there. Um,
Well, no, because they haven't won anything, have they? So,
why do you have to piss on my chips there, Sam? Why?
And there's a drop
Just
right
have to
there.
ruin it all with your facts and statistics and stuff. Um,
In the politest way, Sam Fletcher's just say, "Go f yourself." There you
yes,
yeah,
basically, yeah.
go.
it's also
That's,
ironic because their best quarterback has one more Super Bowl than them, and he didn't even play for them when he did it.
that's your opinion there, Sam. That's your opinion that he has a Super Bowl. Um,
No, it's
Okay.
fact he has a Super
it's
Bowl.
your opinion. Um, right.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Can we go? Okay, can we stop this now? Because it sounds like
yes, we can stop this opinion that Matthew Stafford has a Super.
well, he does. But
It's an opinion.
Yeah, we
It's
said
your
move
that's
on,
opinion.
a
move
fact.
It's your
on,
opinion.
move
It's your
on,
opinion.
move.
Um,
It's not an opinion; it's a
yeah,
fact. So,
that, and
so
that is
just
your and
move
that
the
is your
fuck
opinion.
on, please.
And that is your opinion. So like I say, what I wanted us to do today was to go through. I know like, we keep revisiting to an extent the playoffs, but and like we're at a really interesting point in the season, and I think this weekend will turn out to be, I think, one we look back on as quite an important day in the race for the playoffs, in the race for. Now, normally, I feel after week 11, you see teams start to, I think, pull away from the pack. You've had a few really important games. And by now, like every team has played at least one or two key games in the race for, seedings and divisions and playoff spots. So I'm going to get up what NFL GSIS has as the playoff spots. Now, I think the more important part here is in the AFC, there are three teams on 8-2 and one team on 7-3. There is another team on 6-3. Obviously given the bye week. So well, first four teams have to have a bye week still. But those four teams, they are 8-2, 8-2, 8-2, 7-3. Like They are your best teams in the AFC. And then in the NFC, there are three teams sat on 7-2 and three teams sat on 6-3. It's getting toasty at the top. And the NFC, I think, is much more even throughout, whereas the AFC is a little bit more top heavy normally.
It's a bit like the NBA's Eastern Conference, isn't it? It's very top heavy, and then it's just a load of shit underneath.
Yeah, I mean, talk about the AFC being the best conference in football when it's got the
The A
Cleveland Browns and
the
your Las Vegas
AFC
Raiders and
the AFC conference is a microcosm of the 2016 Premier League season when all the big teams were just drinking stupid juice and Leicester City won it. That's basically what you're looking at in the AFC.
and well, yeah, but I agree say it's a top heavy conference. And really what I want to do, I want us to take these teams, I want us to take these top four, maybe five teams in the AFC, the top six teams in the NFC, and let's ask ourselves the question of who really is going to start taking. Someone needs to take control of this. Someone needs to take a step and push on and claim a conference. Carl, you wanted to talk about this a couple of weeks ago with the AFC in general. So we'll start with the AFC. Colts, Broncos, Patriots 8-2, Chargers 7-3. Like who's who's the one who's going to really, really, really stake their claim on this conference?
So I'll give you the obvious one. I'll give you an obvious one, and it's the more simpler answer as well. It's the New England Patriots. The reason being why is because of their strength of schedule. It's the easiest in the NFL. You look at their running, they've got to play the Jets tonight on Thursday Night Football, but then on the road to the Bengals, they're at home to the Giants, then have their bye week, they're at home to the Bills, who are out of sorts at the moment. They're on the road then to the Ravens, on the road to the Jets, and then at home to the Dolphins. If it was all to be done on paper, New England would have a record of about 13-4. That's the potential to be the number one seed. New England have the easiest running out of the top three as it currently stands. Denver, they've still got to play the Chiefs twice. They've still got to play the Chargers again. Let me bring Denver's schedule.
Packers, Jaguars, Raiders, Commanders are there the last few games.
Yeah, so Washington, that's a win there. At Vegas, yeah, Vegas are shit anyway, so it's not an issue. Home to Green Bay, that could potentially be a banana skin for them. At home to Jacksonville, you should win that. At Chiefs, and then at home to the Chargers. There's the potentiality there that, remember, they've got to play Kansas City this week as well. There's a potentiality they could probably lose three, maybe four games out of that stretch. So it just looks a little bit.
12
And
and
all,
5.
sorry.
They'd be 12 and 5
12 and
if they
5, I
lost
think.
three.
12 and 5 if it all goes according 12 and 5 all goes according to plan. And then you got the Colts who let's have a look. They're on their bye week right now, but straight out the bat, they're on the road to the Chiefs. They're at home to the stingy Texans who don't do well in. They're on the road to the Jags. They're going to still play the Jags twice, but I will give this an asterisk. Every year for the last 10 years, the Colts have split with Jacksonville. So just bear that one in mind, okay? It might not mean anything, but just bear that in mind, okay? They have to play the Texans twice. They've got to play the 49ers. They're on the road to Seattle. That ain't going to be an easy game. And obviously, then they play the Jags. So there's probably another probably maybe two, maybe three losses in there somewhere. If you think about it. A loss to the Chiefs, maybe a loss to the Seahawks, the 49ers, you just don't know with the 49ers. The Texans might pull one off. It's going to get ropey. And this is why I've said that New England I've got the destiny in their palm in their hands here of getting the number one seed if they continue the way they are right now. I look at the Chargers. I see the Chargers as I look at the Chargers
Chargers,
as a
Chargers
they,
have got,
they're like the
they've
running.
got a horrendous schedule.
they've got a horrendous schedule, but they're also like the run and shoot offense. They don't have an off switch. They always come out passing, and I mean they are trying to run the ball with Vidal, and I think after their bye week they will get Amari and Hampton back, so that will help them down the stretch. So who have they got? So they got the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. They're then against the Raiders, which they've beaten already. Um, they're then at home to Philadelphia Monday Night Football on December 9th. That is going to be a critical game. Their next from that game in Philadelphia, then on the road to Kansas City, on the road to Dallas, at home to Houston, then on the road to Denver. That is a horrid last stretch for the Chargers. So even they don't look particularly safe right now. I still think they're going to be in with a wild card. They only need to win two. They only need to win realistically three more games out of that stretch. They're probably gonna have to pull off an upset at some point. I mean, where can I see wins? Jacksonville, Vegas, and you would probably
Dallas.
say Dallas or Houston.
Dallas, just
Or
because
or
that defense
or
is horrific.
or if they do need one more game to really sew it all up, they could go into Denver and beat Denver. And Denver could be under the cosh at that point. But
There's
that that's all
there's
a bit
there's a
gone.
potential that the Broncos have sealed up the AFC West if because like, let's not play pretend. The Chiefs are 5-4. The Broncos are 8-2.
Yep.
They've got a few games ahead of them, and look, it's all well and good saying the Chiefs are better, but like the Broncos, obviously they play the Chiefs this week. I think if the Broncos win this, the division's almost theirs. They've just got to win it mathematically.
The problem you've got The problem we got with that is if the Chiefs do end up losing this game to Denver, the Chargers face the Jags. If the Jags win, then sorry, if the Chargers win, beg your pardon, then the Chargers are only one game back on Denver. And don't forget, the Chargers have the tiebreaker over Denver. So one slip up by Denver, and that automatically flips.
Yeah, but have you seen the Broncos running? They've got the Chiefs, then they've got a bye, then they've got the Commanders and the Raiders.
Two
Yep,
wins.
two
That's
wins
two.
there.
They've got the Green Bay Packers.
Win.
50-50.
pr- Then they've got the Jags. There's a win. And
Probably
then the
win.
Chiefs and the Chargers. So you could theoretically, and obviously I'm not giving them the win right now, but say they go into the bye week 9-2, then you go 10-2, 11-2, 12-2, 13-2 going into those last two games. That'd be more than enough to have a couple of games on the Chargers and the Chiefs.
That'll probably give them the number one seed as well.
Um,
But their record against the Chiefs isn't very good. They've won one of their last 13, and that only victory was last year in Week 18. And it was only because they blew out the Chiefs. Only reason being they blew out the Chiefs is because the Chiefs had the number one seed and they rested their starters.
Well, yeah, but I honestly, that'll give you at least, I reckon, a two-game cushion at the top of the AFC West. That means you can afford, I mean, you probably don't want to, but you can afford to lose one of the Chiefs or the Chargers. Now, you can probably say you'd afford to lose to the Chiefs on Christmas Day, but beat the Chargers at home just after New Year. Because obviously, well, you can't afford to lose to the Chargers if they've got double, like if they're 2-0 against you and you need a tiebreaker against them, that's a good not a good day.
Mm.
So you could they could very realistically, and I know Tom listens to this one and he's probably sat there thinking, why are you saying the Broncos can beat the Chiefs? Um that is just a very realistic possibility because then you put, like I say, you put in the Chargers, they've got the Jags this week, that's a win, so that's 8-3. But like you said, that running's disgusting. You've got the Raiders as well, but you've got the Eagles, you've got the Chiefs. It's just yeah, it's not a pretty running for them either, and I can see at least two slip ups there. Because well, and the losses so far are to the Giants, the Commanders, and the Colts. Giants and Commanders. I'm just throwing this one, just saying the two names again. Giants,
Yeah, and they're not good teams.
Commanders.
They're not good teams. The Philadelphia to the Chargers is that they do play when they play up against superior opposition. They actually play very close to their caliber, but they always have this San Diego moment where they bottle it against against again someone like a Commanders who are not in very good form right now. Someone like the Giants who are not in very good form right now. The Colts is the Colts at the end of the day. They're playing well, so you can't really say, okay, well, we'll probably meet them in the postseason at some point again. Um, yeah, but right now between those three teams, I mean, I'm not trying to be biased on my side of things, but New England have got the easiest running going in. If they can, yeah, I say if they, as I said, for these next three games, we've got to play the Bungles, who have got the worst defense in the NFL by a country mile, and we've got to play the two New York teams, which is basically two cheeks on the same ass. And then we've got to play the Jets and the Miami Dolphins again in the final 2 weeks. Those other two games, which is the Bills and the Ravens, New England pull one of those off, they take the number one seed. And if they beat the Bills, that's the AFC East done. So it's actually in New England's hands here. And I know the Colts are on, I know New England still have their bye week and so on. I don't see any of the wild cards trying to catch up to the seeds at this moment in time. The Colts are running away with the AFC South. We're in good control of the AFC East. Denver, they've got control of the AFC West, but the Chargers are hot on their heels. The tiebreaker will come in handy for them. And as far as the AFC North is concerned, I did say to you Baltimore would win this division. The Steelers had to do the Steelers, they had to have a very, very good start. A very good start. Sadly, all they've done is had a good start because their running now consists of at home to the Bengals, at the Bears, at home to the Bills, at the Ravens, home to the Dolphins, at the Lions, at the Browns, home to the Ravens.
Yeah.
That's if they lose to Cincinnati tonight, on Sunday, which is embarrassing anyway. They drop to 5-5. Can you honestly say you could find 5 wins out of that? Browns potentially, Dolphins. I mean, they're scoring.
If you
The
go 0-2 to Cincinnati in the Werther's Original Bowl, you should be bad. Like the NFL should say you can win out, you can do whatever the hell you want. But we should say like we'll get the college football playoff committee involved. They're two bad losses, and for us, it's not good enough for you to make the playoffs. And we should have one of those kind of things. We're gonna bring in a Ravens who just missed out, but they were without Lamar. Look, we're taking you away on bad losses, no quality wins. Um, I'm sure Sam would absolutely agree because as Sam was saying yesterday, he thinks it's the greatest way to do playoff seedings is to have people's opinions instead and quality
Mm,
wins and losses.
mm,
Um, of which you can hear such veracity and such voracious agreement with that process on the College Football UK podcast, brought to you by the AW Network.
obviously, we've clowned on Cincinnati pretty much most of the season because obviously what they did to Joe Burrow. But let's just say, for example, they do actually beat. Let's just say they beat the Steelers by accident, right on Sunday. Say they beat the Steelers, right? They then jump to 4-6. The Steelers drop to 5-5, and the Ravens then can go to 5-5. All of a sudden now, Joe Burrow right now is in a 21-day window where he is set to return. Now, apparently, his return is apparently the Thanksgiving game against Baltimore. That's where it's kind of leading up to right now. If the Bungles can actually get, if the Bungles can get to, if they even get to like four, if they can get to like 4-7, it's not out the realm. It's not out the realm of possibility. But
I've
they've got to run the table
I
throughout. The problem is though, it's not the fact that they can't score. Even with Joe Flacco throwing for 450 odd yards, they're scoring on every single team. They just can't defend.
apart from when they played the Vikings and the Broncos and put up 13 points over 2 games. But absolutely. Because they're going up 16, 27, 48, 28, 37, 27, 31, 39, 47.
Although saying that, I've just seen since he's running. And okay, so it's the Steelers. Then it's at home to the Patriots. That's a loss. At the Ravens, probably a loss. At the Bills, 50-50 versus the Ravens. Eh. And then at the Dolphins.
I'm
Home to
I'm
the home to the Cardinals and then at home to the Browns.
I'm just saying here, by the way, you could get a double favor, right? So Bills play the Bucks this weekend. Listen to the pick'ems to find out truly what I think this is, what we think is going to happen in that game. But I think that I've made no qualms about who I think the Bills are at this moment in time. Thoughts? The Bucks will probably win this one. I'm putting my money on the Bucks to take this one. The Bills could be 6-4, which would be. Could you imagine if the Bills were 6-4 and the Chiefs are 5-5? Like, I just think it'd be hilarious, objectively hilarious.
The only thing it'll be hilarious if they both miss the
But
postseason.
what I was reading was the for the Bengals, it's going to be the Steelers he misses, the Patriots he misses, and probably the Ravens. But he will be back in time for Buffalo. Now, Joe Burrow back for the first game against Buffalo. Could you imagine? Like, you've got to have a Joe Burrow homecoming, gets a win.
That's
Um,
our bye week as well. That's our bye week. So if they beat Buffalo, we don't do anything. I'm like, sweet.
so I reckon the Bengals could absolutely beat the Bills if it comes down to it that week. You will get an extra help there off Joe Burrow. I think it's almost written in the stars. Um, but yeah, I think the Bills are out of any question for me. They've got the Bucks, the Texans, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Patriots, the Browns, the Eagles, the Jets. The Bucks they'll probably lose to, the Patriots they'll probably lose to, the Eagles they'll probably lose to at this moment in time. There's 3 losses. That's 6 losses altogether. And there's a couple of them that like the Browns I think could do that stupid because the Browns like to brown, right? We all know this. The Browns like to brown. And they will have it almost locked up with 2 weeks left in the NFL season that they will get the number one pick and or really like number two pick, and then
Mm.
they'll beat the Bills. Defense will frustrate the Bills to no end, and then they'll tank their own tank and end up picking like fifth or something like that because that's what the Browns do. The Browns will end up frustrating them and winning a stupid game like that, and then the Bills are out of any question for me at this point.
I wouldn't say the Bills are out. The only thing I would say is for this coming game against the Bucks, and then on the short turnaround against the Texans next week on Thursday Night Football, they're not going to have Dalton Kincaid. That's their mate. That's Josh Allen's main go-to guy as it currently stands right now. Who's the next guy to step up? And then this is
Khalil Shakir.
no, this is why I said if there's one team that had to buy at the deadline at the trade deadline, it was Buffalo. They needed a number one receiver. They try to go after Jalen Waddle. You know damn well no one is going to trade in division.
They also tried to go for Brian Thomas Jr. and that didn't work out
They should
either.
have gone for Chris Olave then. They should have gone for Chris Olave, or if you really wanted to really upset me, send a couple of firsts to Philadelphia to get AJ Brown off their case.
And to be fair, I did speak to the GM the day before, and he said to me, "What would really piss Kyle off? Because we'll try and do that." Obviously, it didn't work out, but that's what he was genuinely after doing. He was after pissing you off.
Well,
Good
it
friend of
didn't
the
piss
show,
me.
good friend.
It did piss me off at the end. But anyway,
That's what I'm saying. Is that
it was a hypothetical scenario.
that's what I'm saying. He asked, but it just didn't quite get pulled off in time. But he
Mm.
did ring me up because obviously good friend, listener of the show. Shout out Bill's GM. Said like, listen, what can I do to piss Kyle off right now? And I was like, boy, have I got a list for you. Gave him
That's
the
not
list,
fun.
and those
That,
things were on there.
that's not
Those
funny.
those things were on there. Where I like. Let me go back to where you go now. I could have just clicked on that. The Colts, that running is awkward. That running
Yeah.
isn't nice. And they've got the Chiefs, obviously, they've got the bye week, they've got the Chiefs. You expect them to lose on the road to the Chiefs. It's one of those games. I know you've got the whole, the Jags are a bit bogey for them, but like, this is a different. Granted, it's a slightly different Jags team, but it's a different Colts team. This is a completely different Colts team. I don't see the same bogey being this year. But I'm sure Sam will attest to just how difficult that Seahawks game's gonna be. And how easy that 49ers game's gonna be. But how difficult that Seahawks game's gonna be. Um
The Colts will stay over on the West Coast for those 2 weeks anyway, so.
yeah, they're gonna have to, but Sam, like that's not an easy. You've got either side of the well, you've got the Jags either side of the Seahawks and the 49ers. No, to be fair, they've got the Niners at home. Seahawks are on the road.
Oh, okay, so I beg your pardon.
Literally, oh, right. This is genuinely sorry, Sam. Before I will actually let you speak in a second. Um, they've got 1 week they're at Jacksonville in the southeast, as far southeast as you can get. The only two teams further southeast are Miami and Tampa, and then you've got Seattle, who are complete top northwest in 1 week. Now, you're glad you're the Indianapolis Colts because you're about halfway through. You're right in the Midwest. It's about the same amount either way. But you're literally at polar opposite ends of the country.
Yeah, that's a
It,
lot of air mileage.
it just a little.
A lot of air mileage, yeah. But the Colts have got a tricky schedule coming up. So,
The only thing in their favor is the Seahawks do not have a particularly good record at home. Well, of the two
not
games that
really.
they've
They've had
lost,
two. They've had
Three
two
and two.
losses.
Three and
They're
two.
3-2. They're 3-2 at home. Where are we? I think we're 4-2 at home, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go
yeah,
back
but
to
they're
it.
also 4-0 away. It's not like
So are
they're
Yeah.
we.
it's
So are
to lose
we.
lose two at home is not good. Like if you're comparing, would you rather face the Seahawks at home or away? At the moment, I'd rather face them at their ground because they've lost games there.
Let me just go on to Seattle's quickly and just see what was Seattle's
It
loss
was the
was.
Niners' first game of the week,
Yeah,
first
the
week
Niners.
one,
I've
and then the
always said
Buccaneers.
week one is always a shit show. Week one is always a shit show. I said that when we lost to the Raiders, that was always a shit show. And then obviously they lost to the Bucks. But that game against the Bucks, that was a brilliant game.
I
That
said,
was end to end.
listen,
So you
uh,
can't really.
Yeah,
as
but then the games that they've also won at home, the Saints, well, they're the Saints, Texas, they're Texas, and the Cardinals. So it's not like they've won the three games that they expected to win, and they've lost the two potential games they could have lost against teams who either were have at least been in the playoff contention or are in the playoff contention.
Okay, so we're getting a little bit sidetracked here because we've gone from the AFC to the NFC. But since we've
No,
talked
but
with
it's the point that you're coming up against the Colts are going into that game. I would be confident thinking, well, the two games that they've lost this season are against teams that have been in the playoffs or are in the playoffs. We're in
yeah,
the playoffs right now. We have arguably the number one running back in the league. We could easily go and win that game. And I'd rather be going into that game playing a Seahawks team who have lost two games at home than them coming to my stadium where they've not lost a single game. So for me, I
yeah,
think the Colts, if you're going to play the Seahawks at any point, bearing in mind that they've got to play in before that, their only other home game is the Vikings. So they'll probably be 4-2. The other three games they've got are away games. They could very well. The Colts could be in a good position to win that game.
absolutely. Um,
They probably won't because the Seahawks have been absolutely brilliant. But if you're gonna stand a chance to beat the Seahawks at the moment, it's at their ground rather than at yours.
yeah. No, do you know what? I didn't even realize that until I was looking it up myself. But Yeah, you excellent point. I think it's the best way to just. And I was just checking in. So the Saints, the Cardinals, and the Texans, three teams with a losing record, and three teams like combined. We're in week 11, and combined they have 9 wins. They don't even have as many wins as they've been weeks in the NFL. So I say your
The,
resume or CV or whatever you want to call it at home, terrible.
the only argument is that the Colts are shocking away. They're 2-2 away. So that's the only thing you could maybe say is that the Colts are not great on the road. But again, their games, the games that they've lost are to playoff teams as well. So it'll be, I think it'll be a fantastic game. That game in particular. Obviously, it's not for another few weeks. But I just think that you know, I don't think it's as cut as dry. It's as cut and dry as the Colts will lose that game. I think they could put up a really good fight in that game,
Yeah.
and
I
I will be cheering them on in that game.
I won't.
oh yeah. Um I was well to be fair, for the a similar reason but not the same exact reason, I think I'll be also a Colts for like cheering you'll be cheering because it'll be a race in the NFC and we'll probably also again need the Seahawks to lose, so I'll be right there with you. Um doing I'm gonna get one of the chains and me and Sam will do the Colts song thing that the guy does on Instagram.
Oh,
Um
Jesus fucking Christ.
we'll do one of them. But I say even their wins at home, they're on the road. Their losses are the Rams and the Steelers. Fair enough. Like that, the games you would somewhat
The
expect to lose.
Steelers, I'm sorry, but the Steelers are
But
ass.
the wins on the road,
They're still a playoff team at the moment.
the
I know it doesn't
Yeah,
really
Titans,
change,
at the
does it?
moment, at the
Yeah,
moment,
but also the Niners are no longer a playoff team, but they still lost to they still beat the Seahawks.
well,
So
still,
um,
they're on the 6 and 4. They're on the outside looking in.
yeah, and the Steelers are in. So if you're going to make an argument,
I've got more confidence of the 49ers getting to the postseason through the NFC side of things than I have the Steelers getting through on the AFC side. You're gonna trust that Steelers offense? Because that defense, unless it gets turnovers, it generates nothing. I said this to you for a while, Fletch. I said Pittsburgh are a fraud. They are a fraud. I've said this for 3 weeks straight. They're gonna crumble. They had to have a really, really good start to the season, and they've had a okay start. That stretch at the end is gonna bite them hard. Trust
Pittsburgh.
me, it's gonna Schittsburg. That's what they're gonna be known as sooner or later.
But speaking of the NFC side, it'd be nice to get over to the NFC side at this point for a moment. There are three teams with a 7-2 record. Two of them are division leaders. That'd be the Philadelphia Eagles and according to NFL GSIS, Seattle Seahawks.
they've got more divisional wins than us, don't
Yeah.
they?
And then there's LA Rams. Then with 6-3, you've got the Detroit Lions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Chicago Teddy Bears.
And the Packers are the 7th seed.
It is tight.
Mm-hmm.
It is tight. Look, right, I'm gonna say this. You know when we talk, you're saying about week one being funny, week one being not being quite right. Week one is a fraud. And do you know who else is a fraud from week one? The Green Bay Packers. God, I cannot wait for Thanksgiving to play them again at home. But that is a close. That is 6 teams with a win between them. Sam, like it's chaos up there. It's getting really, really, really packed.
It is, but uh, I think that out of those teams, I think five of them are going to be in the playoffs. I think at least five of those are in the playoffs.
I'm gonna hazard a guess and say that it's Seattle that don't miss out. Or the
No, I think
Bears. The Bears.
Seattle will be in there. I think the Bears I'm not sure about because again, the Bears can still bears it up. And again,
Yeah.
they've got a very tough set of fixtures or schedule coming up. It doesn't matter. I get, people say about, but the NFC North is still anyone can beat anyone in that division on any day, and they all want to beat each other, even if they're, we saw it with the Bears, even if they're in a losing record, you want to beat them to just ruin their day. So, to go against the Steelers, they've got the Vikings, then they've got the Steelers. Well, that could be a win. But then they've got the Eagles, Packers. Yes, they've got the Browns, but then Packers, 49ers, and Lions. And the 49ers are going to want to win that game because they're going to want to get into the playoffs as well. So for me, the Bears could be, I think at best, they'll lose at least 3 games. At worst, they could lose 4 or 5. And that I don't think that'll be enough to get them in the playoffs, given how well the likes of the 49ers, or the 49ers schedule is easy. So they'll probably, all they have to do is just win that game, I would say, against the Bears. And then for me, it'll be a case of it. I think that last spot for me will be between the Packers and the Bears. So it's basically just who wins their games, really, for me.
9-8.
So
See if 9-8 won't make it into the playoffs.
not for the Bears.
Okay.
I think 9-8 for someone like the Buccaneers will, because of how awful their division is. But I just think, when you're looking at, for me, there's 2 divisions which could have a potential of 3 teams. Well, could have a potential of 3 teams in the playoffs, and it'll be a case of who has that. I think the NFC West is more likely, just based upon the fact that the 49ers have a better schedule, and they pretty much, apart from maybe a couple, have already kind of dealt with their harder games. I mean, you look at who they've got to play. You've got the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans. I mean, they should win those next 4 games. And then it's just a case of the final 3 games of the Colts, Bears, and Seahawks. Well, I think at worst they lose 3 games, which would then put them on 10-7.
Yeah.
Which would automatically outbeat that. But again, that's why I think that Bears-Niners game will be really interesting, because it depends for me who wins those and what the situation is going into those games. But
that could potentially be a tiebreaker game.
Yeah. And I just think that for me, the Bears, Packers, and Niners, they're going to be taking 2 of the last 3 spots. So it's either going to be 3 NFC West teams or 3 NFC North teams. That's the way I see it. I think the other 5 have done enough and will do enough to get into the playoffs. I mean, the way I see our schedule, I think we've got a very tough schedule. We've got the Seahawks twice, we've got the Buccaneers, and we've got the Lions. I think they're, usually we 1-1 against the Seahawks. So there's a loss at least in there. Buccaneers, 50-50 as to how that goes. I think the Lions 50-50 to see how that goes. So, I mean, even if we lose 3 games, we're going to be, 12-5, which is what I predicted us to be at the end of the season. That's for me is going to be comfortably enough to get in. The same with Seattle, same with the Lions, and same with I can't see any of the other teams aren't good enough to catch those 4-5 teams, and then it's just a case of who have 3 wins. That's how I see it playing out.
Yeah.
But me personally, I think whoever wins the game, whoever wins this week between the Rams and the Seahawks, I think takes the division. In my opinion, I think whoever does that takes the division. And and the other team will be the highest ranked seed.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a way of keeping this conversation going, and I'm flipping in a segment here. So I did try and plan this out a little bit, and one of the reasons why I also want to talk NFC is because as I said earlier, I think there's a couple of games this week that I think will be season defining or season altering because it isn't the greatest week on paper, but there are a couple of absolute gems this week for games. And my game of the week is one of those games. And I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to wait for Chapman to call me a homer because I'm choosing the Detroit Lions at the Philadelphia Eagles this week for my game of the week. And a little bit on the history of this one. There have been 36 iterations of this game. The Eagles lead the series 18, 16, and 2. First game was played in 1933 when the Detroit Lions were named the Portsmouth Spartans. The Lions had a 4-win streak to start in 1933, 34, 35, 36. They even won 7 of the first 8 games against the Eagles, but since then, been relatively even. However, obviously, I think I said the Steelers a minute ago. The Eagles have had a little bit more favour over the history since. Eagles had the longest win streak of all, a 6-win streak from 95, 96, 98, 2004, 2007, 2010. Believe it or not, obviously the Lions have such a wonderful, magical history and plethora of playoff opponents because we are such a rich history of playoffs. We have only played the I have Steelers around me now. We have only played the
Come on,
Eagles
get on with it.
once in history in the playoffs. That was in 1995, and the Steel
The
crying
Eagles.
out loud, man.
Get
The
the Steelers off your
Eagles,
brain.
the Eagles. I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Someone clip this up. Jesus Christ. I'm like,
The Eagles obviously won that one. That's my game of the week. And the reason being, obviously, the Eagles are 7-2, the Lions are 6-3. This game has big potential implications for the top of the NFC and how the at least the seeding will work. A win from the Lions, and that is a statement from the Detroit Lions. A loss for the Eagles. Sorry, a win for the Eagles, and that is still a statement for the Eagles. This should have been last year's NFC Championship game if the Bears head coach wasn't too busy taking interviews instead of planning for a game.
Well, if the Lions win, then we have a new number one seed either way.
mm.
So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I think the five teams that we're talking about in the NFC top five, I suppose, in the Eagles, Seahawks, Lions, and Rams and Bucks, all have
Yeah.
potentially season-defining games.
Exactly, but this is like that's what I'm saying. Like you have to throw the NFC in this
Mm.
conversation because it's so tight at the top. Like it's so easy to pick the Seahawks and Rams. That's a double dip in season defining because it's a divisional game and you're both 7-2, and obviously the Bucks playing the 6-3 Bucks playing the 6-3 Bills. But like this week could say the whole top of the NFC is about to get a massive shake up.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's going to be it's a fun week of games. I just hope it ends in a fun week.
Yeah,
So let's just have a look at the running for Tampa Bay because I think there's one team you did miss out on. I don't know, they're still latter with injuries right now, but let's look. They're at the Bills this week. Obviously, then they're at the Rams. Home, then they got 3 straight home games. Cardinals, Saints,
They've got
Falcons.
they've got
That's
5 straight games that are winnable.
Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, at Dolphins, and then the Panthers again.
Yeah,
For 6 straight games, they should have wins. So really, it's getting through the Bills and the Rams. even if they lost those two at 5-5, and I think that's their record, wasn't it?
No, it'd be 6 and 5.
Oh, sorry, they're 6-3. So yeah,
Yeah.
even if they fall to 6-5, you still look at that and go, do you know what? Yeah, we'll still win the division.
Yeah.
Oh, but how far can they climb up? Could they get the third seed, maybe?
Well, I think they would if they say they at worst they lost the bit to the Bills and the Rams in the next two games and then went on a 6 game winning streak. That would put them 12 and 5. I've
Or
got
also, as well, just to sort of to cut in on there, obviously Tampa Bay, they've obviously got the tiebreaker over Seattle as well. So if they did win and Seattle lost, Tampa would go above them.
yeah, but then yeah, I mean if the Seahawks lost, then we'd have beaten them, so we would jump above all of them anyway.
Yeah, because you play the Bucks of them the following week, don't you?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we played if the Buccaneers went 0-2 in the next two games and then went 6 straight games win, they'd be 12 and 5, but we'd have the win over them and I see us being 12 and 5, so we would have the seeding above them. I think the Lions would probably I've got the Lions to beat us. So again, I, if I can't see them potentially losing 2 games, so they would probably be the second. I think it's for me, it's between the Eagles and the Lions as number one and number two seed, and then I think it'll be either us or the Seahawks in third, and then the Bucks fourth. But well, I suppose if the Seahawks finish 12 and 5, then the Bucks would obviously finish above them. But
Mm. How much do you trust Chicago?
I don't. I don't trust them.
In a nutshell, I don't.
I don't
I
trust them.
don't. I don't trust them.
I don't.
Because no,
To be honest,
so they're at the
the way that
Viking.
their games so far this year, the ones that they've lost
The
this
ones
year,
they've lost, they've won, and the ones they should have won, they've lost.
yeah. Well, no, they lost to the Vikings and the Lions in their opening 2 games, and then the only other game they've lost this year was to the Ravens in week 8.
Yeah.
All the other games you would say, based upon this season, they should win. Cowboys, Raiders, Commanders, Saints, Bengals, and Giants.
Yeah, that's not a hard schedule. Their next schedule though is at the Vikings this week. Um, home to the Steelers, at the Eagles, at the Packers, home to the Browns, home to the Packers, at the 49ers, and then they finish it off at home to the Lions.
Yeah, and I think that 49ers game will be the tiebreaker for them in terms of if they make it into the playoffs or not, depending on how their games with the Packers play out. Those 2 games against the Packers will decide. I think will decide the wild card games or the wild card situation, because if the Packers lose both of those games, they're out completely. I don't see them even making it in. If they win one and the Bears win one, then it comes down to the Bears 49ers game as to how important that game could be. So I think the way I see it, I mean, they should beat the Vikings, but again, divisional game, we don't know how that's going to pan out. Should beat the Steelers, probably lose to the Eagles. Say they went 1-1 against the Packers, beat the Browns. You've lost 2 games there already going into the 49ers, who won't lose. I don't see them losing a game until they play, maybe lose the Colts or not. Say they lose to the Colts, they'll both have 5 losses going into that game. So for me, that'll be then the decider as to who wins, who finishes in the playoffs. So I think that's what the way that this plays out is there's so many moving parts and so many teams because of the fact that the Bears, Packers, and 49ers are all sort of intertwined in how their seasons are going to pan out. That's why I see that period is going to be so important, that week 16, 17 games.
Yeah.
But I don't see I don't unless someone like the Rams. If the Rams lost Matt Stafford, then I mean I would probably say that our season's done. But I just don't see any of those top five teams not being in the playoff.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Eagles, if the Eagles win this week, they would go 8-2, and the Cowboys are the next highest seed, aren't they? And they're playing the Raiders this week.
I would say that's a win for them.
But if they
Oh
lost
well,
to
I
if
say it's a
if
win for them, but you never know what what this Cowboys team's going to be like.
yeah, if they lost to the Raiders,
First
they'd
of
be
all,
three
we
six
laugh
and one.
hysteric. First of all, we
So
laugh hysterically.
yeah, but they would be 3-6-1. If the Eagles beat the Lions, they'd be 8-2. I think that secures. Does that secure the division for them?
Not quite, not yet, not well, not mathematically, because you've still got 7 weeks to go. It's the Eagles, yeah, they've had their bye week, so they'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games to go.
They
The
both have 7 games
Cowboys,
to play.
yeah, they both have 7 games to play. The Eagles would be 4.5 games ahead. So then but then they play each other the week after. The Eagles could go 5.5 games ahead with 6 games to go. They could theoretically, like the Eagles could
They could.
theoretically have it by the Bears. Like by December, they could have the NFC East.
I was gonna say they theoretically they could. Yeah, because then the week after that, the Cowboys are going to play the Chiefs and then the
Yeah,
Lions. So I would say if the Eagles win this week, yes, okay, it's mathematically no, they haven't won the division. But to me, with the Cowboys having to play the Eagles, Chiefs, Lions in a 3-game streak, I say that the Eagles have not only won their division. Well, yeah, they will have won their division in my eyes because I can't see the Cowboys winning any of those games.
by the way, anyone listening will have noticed we missed out on a little segment at the start of this episode where we talk about Monday Night Football because we weren't talking about that shower of whatever we're going to call it that was on Monday Night Football between the Packers and the Eagles.
That
That was
was
horrible.
embarrassing.
That was disgusting and very.
We ended up with a curmudgeon game last Thursday night against the Broncos and the Raiders that ended 10-7. And then we finished off the final of the week of the season with another 10-7, another curmudgeon game between the Eagles and the Packers. I mean, serious to God, man. I know
Hey,
it was cold. I know it was cold in Green Bay, but that's not an
Well,
excuse.
the
the
Come on.
Eagles, the Eagles are used to cold weather as well. Come on, they're used to it, aren't they? So
It's,
we can never use the.
what's the saying goes? It's always shitty in Philadelphia.
hey, weirdly
Yeah,
enough, bearing in mind, I like to. There's most of the time I like to have something to watch when I go to sleep, and I'll choose a like something like The Simpsons. The recently not long ago it was The Simpsons because there's like a billion episodes. It's something I can just whack on in the background and fall asleep to it. I'm back on. I literally the other day started watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia again. What a television program that is.
I just put
yeah.
on a video of someone talking about Catholic converters. I just fall asleep immediately.
Catholic converters or Catholic.
Catholic converters for your cars.
Right, okay, I thought you had Pope Leo just
Catholic Catholic converters.
Catholic
Catholic
converters.
convert. Oh God, we go down the
But
dark road on that one. Carry on.
yeah, we're not gonna go there.
I mean, last week for live television games at the start and end of the week was just an absolute shit show. But at least we got some decent football in the 9 o'clock games and the midnight game. Well, we got some belt to ass games at least.
Yeah, the Seahawks Arizona game was a belt to ass game. That was a belt to ass in one half.
That was
Mm,
a belt to us in a quarter. Forget about
yeah,
half. That was in the first quarter. Like just going back onto the Eagles though in the NFC East, I'm not going to turn around and say the Lions will win it. I'm obviously also not gonna say the Eagles will win it. I'm not going to call this one until the pick'ems, but I'm gonna call the Eagles beating the Cowboys. I'm going to call that one. But then the Eagles have the Bears, the Chargers, the Raiders. The Cowboys, however, have after the Eagles, like you say, have the Chiefs, the Lions, the Vikings. I truly felt before Christmas, it'd be either the 14th of December or the 21st of December. The Eagles have the division wrapped up, and it
Mm.
should be. And I'm not going to particularly turn around and say the Cowboys will lose to the Raiders. They've just had a bye week.
Could,
I expect
could.
them. I mean, to be fair, they got their asses handed to them by the bloody Cardinals.
Mhm.
So anything is possible.
As I said, the NFL's on all the drugs this year. Nothing makes sense.
I just don't care. Um,
I think that at the moment, I think you're looking at the NFC. Two divisions are, I would say, sewn up from not from a mathematical perspective, but just from a logical perspective. I think the Buccaneers and the Eagles are clear favourites for their divisions,
Yep.
and then it's just a case of who can be the team to step up in their own divisions for the other two,
yeah.
and then
Uh,
it will just be a case of which division is going to be the better of the two divisions by having three playoff teams.
Do you think there's a scenario where all four of the NFC North teams can make the postseason?
there is a
Because
scenario.
Minnesota are sitting at 4-5 right now, and they got to play Chicago. If they somehow win that game, they're 500. Chicago's at 6-4. That now doesn't look at Minnesota can now look at that and go,
I
actually, do you know what? We're
bef-
not out of this here.
I'm going to set this up for Sam. I think
Go on.
not with the NFC West the way it is, and having
Yeah.
three teams who are extremely strong, two of which have the opportunity to be as strong as they are. You can't. I any other season, well, most of the seasons, I would say potentially if the 49ers would have just keeled over and died like they should have done when they not obviously literally um when they had all the if their season would have just keeled over and died like it probably should have done when they had all the injuries, maybe the Seahawks, if they weren't as strong as as they are, when they shouldn't really have been as strong, maybe. But the Seahawks are too strong, the Rams are too strong, and the Niners just won't go away. So unfortunately, the NF it
I think, like you say, that the problem is that I think at worst the 49ers are going to be 10-7 this season, and that would mean losing to the Bears. And whereas I think the only way that it plays out where there's four NFC North teams, I think the Bears have to win some very difficult games. I think they have to win against the 49ers, and they'll have to beat the Lions, and then they'll have to share a game with the Packers, and then for the Packers to get in, but also then have to beat the Eagles as well. I just think their run of fixtures is difficult, and I
Hmm.
think if you take it in the way that they lose to the Eagles, they lose to the Packers, they lose, they beat the 49ers, but they lose to the Lions, they're going to lose three games, which would put them what 11-6.
Yeah.
But then the Packers, because again, I don't know if we've actually looked at the Packers fixtures.
They're only in
They
the postseason as it currently stands right now because of that poxy tie against the Cowboys. That
they
tie messes everything up because if they lost that game, 49ers are. Hang on, let me just have a look at their conference records quickly. 3-1, 6-2, +5, +4, 2-9. Yeah, San Francisco will be above them.
hmm.
San Francisco will be the seventh seed.
And the Packers, in terms of their games, they've got the Giants, which again they should beat the Giants. They've then got the Vikings. Well, again, we don't know how that's going to play out, but I mean, I said this before when we were talking about the Packers a while back. They've got to play the Vikings, the Lions, and the Bears, the Broncos, the Bears in a 5 game stretch. If they lose if they lose two of those, they'll then immediately be what 5-5-1 with two of the wins. They'd be 7-5-1. I think they lose three of those games personally. I think the Lions, the Broncos, and the Bears. I think they lose three of those 5 games.
I I'm going to throw the Ravens in there as well because that's going to be it will be an interesting game, I think.
Mhm.
With all due respect, again, I'm not trying to do this as a homer. The Packers are frauds. They really their record isn't what it should be.
Mhm.
Tie against you lost to the Browns for crying out loud. Sorry, Ellie. You lost to the
Lost to the
Browns. You
Panthers.
scraped past the Bengals. You scraped past the Cardinals. You s- you lose to the Panthers. You scrape like okay.
You
The
lose
Eagles
to
scrape past you, but like
straight past the Steelers.
you, the Ravens could very well be
I think Ravens are going to be in contention for
for
getting
playoff spots.
their
Yeah,
division.
they're going to be in contention for division. But even if not, they could still be in contention for a playoff
Mm.
spot with Lamar back. And if they really kick on, that Green Bay game could be make or break for them. I genuinely like they're gonna be up for it. Like the Ravens are
Mm.
really gonna be up for it. And
I'll
if they,
say that I'll pin my flag to the mast right now. Baltimore winning the AFC North. Baltimore winning the AFC North.
which
I'll pin my flag to the mast now.
which as it was said on Monday night, and I absolutely agree. If the Steelers fumble the division when the
Yep,
Ravens were 1-5,
yep. They'll sack Tomlin.
Tomlin has to go.
I think they will. I think this could now. It looks like the raid there. I know we've just transitioned again from the NFC back to the AFC, but just let me down and I'll let Sam take the lead on the NFC again. Is that Steelers now their running isn't easy at all. It is not easy at all. We're gonna see how good this team really can be. Aaron Rodgers is a rickety old curmudgeon right now. Can only threaten a go. He's doing the Ben Roethlisberger in his old and at the twilight of his career, throwing 5, 10 yard ducks. That's all he can do now.
That is the
That is all he can do.
Noodle
If
arm.
you're so if you're a defense, all you're doing is zoning in on the run. Well, Steelers don't really run the ball, but you get what I mean. Zoning on the run, and you just stack the
Triple,
box.
triple, triple team DK Metcalf. Take him out of the game.
Double team DK Metcalf, and then just play one on one with everybody else. It's all right. You can mark one on one with Calvin Austin because his hands are just for decoration. He doesn't catch anything, so it's fine.
um. By the way, the word curmudgeon coming up 3 times tonight is not on my bingo card. Can I just I obviously well
He's
I
a rickety old curmudgeon.
may or may not have a bingo card for every episode I do ever, and this was not on there. Just wasn't on there. Um,
Yeah, just going back to the Packers.
yeah.
I out of their final games, I only see them winning 3, which would put them what 9-7-1.
They get in because of
Would
that
that be right?
fucking tie. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, 9. Well, no, it'd be 8-7-1, wouldn't 8-8-1. So say they win
They won't
another
get
one.
in. You won't get
Yeah,
in with a 500 record. Not in the NFC, you won't.
I just think that the the Packers would need to suddenly turn up, but I think if they turn up because of the fact they've got those 2 games against the Bears, if they win both of those, I think that then decides if the Bears then have to go and beat the 49ers in order to even get in. I just think that yeah, I mean I've already said it. I think it's going to be a case of three three of each team will get in. I just don't know which way it'll go about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, geez, we've had very, very good conversation out of this topic, and normally we don't. But this has been a fantastic, fantastic conversation. Before we do start to wrap this up, though, Carl, you were extra prepared with the double bomber today.
For the first time in many, 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 many weeks, as a
The
matter of
double
fact.
bomber deserves this level of respect, Carl, every week.
You will respect my authority. Anyway, so last week's double bomber did not go according to plan at all. I think I've come to the realization that trying to pick a lot of players to get touchdowns really isn't really a good strategy because so far I'm not for where are we now? Not for
11.
10 right now.
Oh,
Nothing else has come through. So don't worry, when we make the postseason, I will be switching it up a little bit, okay? But for now, we'll stick to what we got because I'm pretty sure we're going to nail one of them. We got 8 weeks. 8 weeks to do it, and right in time for Christmas as well. So, ears peeled. So, for your little sevenfold, which is for £5, so obviously, Rico Dowdle, Drake London, T. Higgins, Josh Jacobs, Kimani Vidal, Rashad White, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's your sevenfold, £5 on, gives you back a nice £746 and 50 pence. And then the big bomber, the ninefold. Yes, we've had to throw in the Madrid game in there. But there's only one guy would truly rely on to get us to get a touchdown. And that is Devon Achan. DeAndre Swift, Trey McBride, Devontae Adams. Adams has had 6 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. So he's a banker for that one. I have put CM's.
he's
Go on.
he did pull up injured in the last game with a back injury,
Mm,
but he was wanting to come back in. He didn't practice on Wednesday. I haven't seen what it is for tonight, but he didn't practice. He's been do not practice.
okay.
So just to make you aware, because it is likely he'll play, but it's
Mm.
just that there is a chance he may not.
If he does play, he might be on a snap count.
Yeah,
Okay, fair
we'll
enough.
see.
If that's too,
If he full practices this week, he'll play the whole game.
if that's too risky for you to take Devontae Allen because he's injured, then go with the next one, Kyron Williams. Go with Kyron Williams, obviously. CMC, Christian McCaffrey. I'm also going to throw Rashee Rice in there as well. Since he's come back, he's scored a touchdown in every single game. This is a bit of a risky one. RJ Harvey. I've just got a suspicious feeling Denver are going to get a rushing touchdown in this. Jameer Gibbs for Detroit. I think he will get a touchdown against the Eagles. And then if it all goes in, you are relying on one player. Now, it's Cowboys at Raiders. You would think I go for someone like George Pickens or CeeDee Lamb or their running back, Javonte Williams. Nope. I'm throwing in Ashton Genty in there. I'm throwing Ashton Genty. He scored 2 touchdowns in his last 2 games. So baby's starting to get a little bit going. So that's my big bomber. That for £5 brings you about a nice £1,168. And that is your double bomber for week 11.
Lovely. Now, gents, as I just said, Carl, you know what you put a bet on? You like to put a bet on. It adds to the Sunday experience, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, another thing I like to do on a Sunday personally is I like to play fantasy football. It adds to the Sunday experience, doesn't it, Sal?
It does.
It does. And there's always that wonder of what if you could do both at the same time and then steps up Fantasy Game Day, the UK's first and only NFL daily fantasy app made by UK fans for UK fans. Set up, look, set your lineup to a budget, compete against other UK fans from content creators, podcasts, and just other fans in general. Put a couple of quid down and maybe win a few quid in the process. Should your fantasy football skills be any good, or be good enough to at least come within the top few spaces. To do so, you can go to the links in the description of this episode, go to Fantasy Game Day, download the app, sign up, and when you sign up, use the promo code HRDLE. That is, sorry, by the way, I've had someone get confused with this recently because of my accent and how certain letters sound. That is Hurdle without the U.
There is no hurdle the line without you.
Every time, it gets me every time. The and you will get £7.50 in free games once you deposit and play for the first time because they're really nice like that. And they like when you say that we sent you, they like to do something for you because they're really, really, really nice like that. No, I just said if you are any good and you're okay with fantasy football, you set a lineup that could be good enough to win you to get you enough points to be within the top few places. If you're not, or you're just confused as to you're unsure what to do this week, we've got a little bit of help for you. And I do believe that Sam will be the person to help you. He's the man to speak to.
Yeah, hopefully. Again, as always, I do like to try and find um, some diamonds in the rough to help out with those potential flex positions where you need cheaper options so you can get those big players in. I've got a couple this week. Obviously, with the news that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be missing this week, there is very little for Jacoby Brissett to throw to other than Trey McBride.
Mac Wilson.
So,
The same. The same.
my choice for this week of someone you can stick in a flex position is Michael Wilson. He's only 3,000 and he's going to be the number one wide receiver. You know, obviously, Trey is the technically a tight end, but he's more of a wide receiver. Michael Wilson will be the other option. With the fact that, you know, the Niners are probably going to target Trey McBride, prevent them from, you know, lock him up as best they can. He will be the outlet, I think, in this game. The other position, another wide receiver that I'm looking at, again, Jacksonville haven't been brilliant in dealing with the pass. They're currently ranked 23rd against the pass. And I've gone with weirdly enough, two LA Chargers players this week. I've got the tight end on Aronde Gadsden. How do I pronounce the name?
One day Gadaston.
Yeah, the tight end. He's valued at 4,200. But again, Jacksonville are awful against the tight end. They rank 31st against the tight end. And then I've also thrown in Keenan Allen. Again, he's only 4,000. He's a cheap option. And I think that he could be one that could potentially pick up a touchdown. So those are the three that I'm looking at this week. I have also thrown in Woody Marks as well, just because the Tennessee Titans are awful against the run. They rank 31st against the run, so Woody Marks is also a potential. I think either him or who's the other one? Nick Chubb, you could probably go with. I just think Woody Marks is more likely to get the touchdowns in that game, so I would go with him. Again, he's only 4,600, so he's fairly cheap. Allows you to bring in more expensive players into that team.
Lovely. Thank you very, very much. So, okay, that is it for your week 11 preview show. We spoke about the AFC, we spoke about the NFC, and some of the games that you will need to look forward to this weekend to see who can take control of either conference. We've had our game of the week, we've had a double vomber, and we've had our fantasy game day picks. That leaves me without further ado to say a huge thank you for joining. A huge thank you to Sam and to Carl for joining me this week to talk about the NFL. A huge thank you to anyone who listened. And just remind everybody that if you would like to, I guess, just come and chat with us. Obviously, you can come onto our social medias. That's Heard Over Line AAW Network. Follow us individually, follow us as individuals, or you can join our free to join Discord server and come and chat with us in there. We would love to have you. Join us, you can join on Tuesday morning for the review show as we look at, as Chapman, Ollie, and Tom look at week 11. Join the College Football UK show, the Pats Touchback, as you can. There's 3 episodes this week as well, because you're on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, we've had 2 straight weeks. So Tuesday night was our review show with the Buccaneers. Last night we had, or rather Wednesday night we had our preview of the Jets. We had Neil on
From
from Talking
Talking
Balls.
Balls.
But yeah, that's a big one for us to try and scoop up there. And then on Friday night we've obviously got our review of the Jets game. And then and then the following Tuesday it will be Mr. Nick Cosgrove's turn to host because he will be doing his early draft prospects for us of what we need in the 2026 NFL draft. So a lot to coming up, looking up on the touchback. And obviously next Friday, we'll have the preview of the Cincinnati Bengals game with Who Dey UK.
Well, they really? Well, for just anybody don't tune in too late into the College Football UK episode that was out yesterday, as Nick was telling us all about how he's not going to do it yet. He's not going to look at draft prospects yet. It's too early to look at draft prospects. So I'd ignore that one. But no, I appreciate it. We can see you next week.
I've just stopped him in there.
Us, you can see us three again on Saturday for the Pick'ems, and you can see us through properly again as we look at the Week 12 slate next week. Until then, hurdle that conference.